So I spent $100,000 to learn what I'm about to tell you. And honestly, it was worth it because it's given me the mindset to where I know that I'm going to make it all back again and in 1 month. As crazy as that sounds, I need to give you a little bit of backstory into how I got myself in this position because it's somewhat unique, but I still realize that the lessons are actually universal. So when I was about 20, I came into some money from inheritance to the tune of about $100,000. And it was something to where I was raised in a way where I was certainly encouraged to go and put that away for a rainy day, buy a house, kind of get up to a slight level of upper middle class abundance. And as appetizing and as appealing as that sounded, it really didn't sound very appealing to me. I had spent a lot of time sort of deriding the system of capitalism, of consumerism in my younger years, in my teenage years. And I really didn't like that. And I had even gotten a job, or an internship rather, at a pretty prestigious non-governmental organization that was looking to create change and making safer food and water for everyone, especially in America. And it was a good goal. But as soon as I was doing that, maybe about 6 weeks into it, I realized that shuffling around papers, doing things that just didn't really appeal to me in the actual actions was just not for me. So I decided to do what I thought that my idol at that time did, Kanye West, and I became a hip hop artist. I became a rapper. And I figured, wow, I have all this money. I can't think of a better thing to do with it than really invest it into myself and my own dreams. And so I spent a pretty good amount, but not a ton because I was still looking, to not spend everything, but certainly, like $10,000, $20,000 on producing an album. Now, it certainly wasn't all in one stroke. It was all in like the different licenses for beats that I bought the most expensive license for because I thought it was going to blow up. Buying different equipment, going and paying my rent, and also going and buying some nice clothes because I thought that's what I needed to do to see success as a hip hop artist. And that was fun for a while. I continued my dreams of going and being a musical artist for actually about 5 years. And I had a really good time. I met with a lot of interesting people. But one of the things that went wrong is that I didn't really resolve myself to learn all of the skills that were necessary to make my dream a reality. And so I would be relying on one of my friends to be doing the audio mixing because I wanted to focus more on my creativity. I would be going and outsourcing the mastering to an audio company that was quite expensive and didn't really do that great of a job anyway. And I was overall thinking that as long as I can just make sure that I focus on the thing that I enjoy, which was making the music, the thing that I thought was my mode of genius. And so seeing this pattern in retrospect, what I lacked was the ability to do everything that I needed to do before I was successful. And this is a trend that continued actually as I went and I started a jade lamp business. Now this, after I had been in the music game for quite some time, I was around a lot of cool people and a lot of people that actually got addicted to drugs and ended up taking a lot of my energy away. I realized that, I should figure out how to go and actually make some money with this because the music thing doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. I didn't really understand marketing or content creation at that point in my journey. And so what I did is I invested a sizable chunk of the money. Again, I think $40,000, $50,000 into actually going and getting an art studio, going and buying CNC equipment and other equipments, going and buying filmmaking equipment because that was also something that I thought I wanted to do before I realized that it was actually a lot of energy to go and make a film. But what I did was I was still going and relying on other people to go and other people or luck actually to go and make my dreams a reality. And the difficult part about that is that the universe doesn't actually want most people to be successful. Like the universe in the abstract does, but the structures of this world really do not. Especially if you're not actually comfortable with the current way of doing things. So if you're uncomfortable with consumerism, or if you're uncomfortable with marketing, or you're uncomfortable with sales, or needing to turn a profit for it to be a valuable business. All those concepts exist for a reason, and it's actually quite difficult to succeed if you don't respect them. But what I found is that as I was going and moving towards the direction of going and trying to build this jade lamp business is I would find that I was going forward based on the presumption that because I felt aligned in what I was doing, and it seemed like a good idea. I mean, I had studied Toltec shamanism for, I think, around a year and a half at this point with a very powerful Mexican healer who's actually cured hundreds and thousands of people of like serious ailments, including his mother of cancer. And I had learned from him that jade was the stone of the heavens. So jade was like the most valuable stone in all of Mesoamerica before colonization, even more valuable than gold. And so when I had the opportunity to go and invest in jade, I was like, wow, this is my path. You know, part of the reason that I inherited the $100,000 in the first place was because I had, or my family had came into a large amount of iron ore in Minnesota and had extracted that and received a lot of profit. So I felt like part of my karmic duty was to go and reconcile the old way of extracting minerals, which is quite exploitative and destructive to the land, with a new way of where it's like we were just finding jade. It was sort of a byproduct of other people going and excavating those minerals. They weren't necessarily on the hunt for it, and it was actually already pulled out of the ground. So it was really, I felt pretty good about how non-invasive this business plan was. And so it felt really, really aligned. I thought like, oh man, I'm going to invest everything. And, you know, I've done my best to be a good person. I had several friends that were around me that were trying to really leech off of me because they weren't really ready to carry their own burdens. And because I wasn't really ready to fully carry my own burden, that's why I attracted into my hologram was people that weren't ready to go and carry their own burdens. And the difficult part in that is I really thought that it was fully aligned. But because I wasn't willing to do the work, I thought that some of the spiritual work or some of my calling was just being in the visionary realm. So I ended up smoking a ton of weed at that point in my journey. And I was high every day. And I would still be doing like a little tiny bit, but more so than doing any actual work. I was still just like in this feel like I needed to go and just respond to what was in front of me. So I was being very responsive. And that was really my downfall. Because instead of going and realizing that I have all the ability to create what I want to create, I assumed that because I was putting good energy and I was acting like what I thought a good person was, that I would inevitably be rewarded. And the reward is really what I've learned in this whole journey rather than the financial reward. Because when I launched that project to Kickstarter, I had made the lamps and I thought, oh my gosh, this is an amazing project. People are going to be really excited to buy it. I'm absolutely sure it's going to be successful. What happened is I made about $5,000 in sales. And I had to go ask my mom to go and help me boost it to the rest of it, to the $10,000 goal we set, in order to be able to actually fulfill the project and get any of the money to fulfill the orders. And so, as difficult and as disappointing as that really was, it taught me a really valuable lesson, which is that no matter how cool that you think your project is, no matter how innovative, if you don't understand the need to be creating content, to building relationships with people that could be interested in what it is that you have, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Because that's what I was doing at that time, is I was thinking that because it felt so aligned, that it was inevitable that it was going to be successful. But I didn't realize that we can actually make our own success inevitable through posting content. And so then again, the way that I still had a little bit of money left, and I put it into this stock called GameStop, which I was really certain was going to short squeeze. And I was just counting on like, oh, you know, it's okay that I'm having to drive Uber at this time. It's okay that I'm just barely scraping by doing copywriting and other marketing jobs. At times I did quite well, but it tended to be very much feast or famine because I really wasn't fully comfortable with the energy of money or the energy of sales for a long time. And I sort of contented myself by thinking, oh, this is okay. I'm still going to be able to go and reap my rewards again from this sort of luck that I was just thinking was sort of owed to me for a long time. And the way that that manifested from going and wanting my luck to manifest as a rapper, or wanting to manifest as someone that just struck it lucky on Kickstarter and had one of the most funded projects, or struck it luck by investing in GameStop and going and getting a short squeeze. Ultimately, it was all me looking for luck outside of myself. Like, I was not actually able to create what it is that I wanted to create for myself through exclusively my own efforts. And so that's what manifested really the last roadblock before I got to the mindset that I'm really grateful to have now, which was another person that was promising me the world. He was really into my ideas, and I was working at a Web3 company as a copywriter, and I had a very great idea, which I may still be using one of these days, for a software that would pretty much enable artists to sell their work as NFTs and set up some really good features that I think artists would love, like being able to profit share, being able to like make collaboration easy, being able to make their stuff more collectible. And so this is one of the things that I wanted to fund when I inevitably got lucky from GameStop. So when the opportunity came on board for me to go and pretty much work on to pitching him, and I had actually just gotten fired from that other job because I told the boss, or the guy that had hired me at any rate, that I had my idea for my own Web3 startup. And so he fired me on the spot when I told him that. And so I thought, again, this is a sign for me to go all in on this other idea, just like I had read the signs before. And what ended up happening there is that instead of going and giving me the investment that I thought that I was worthy of, because I'm so aligned and spiritual and powerful and wise, he ended up just wasting a lot of my time in a very confusing way. He would go and buy me dinners, wanting to chat about my ideas. And then when it came time to go and pay the rent, I was like, hey man, I got about, I don't know, I think I had like $5,000 in stocks at that point. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go and do my best to go and make this project something that looks like it can succeed the next 2 months, because my rent was $2,500. And, after that, I'm going to need you to pay me to be working on this. So he said, okay. After 2 months, he's like, you know what? I like this. Want to invest in it? I was like, all right, give me another month to pay you. And after 2 days, or rather 20 days of runaround, he ended up just ghosting. Well, he didn't ghost me. He pretty much told me to go fuck myself. After I asked him, hey, where's that money that you promised me 50 days ago for my rent? First for that month and then for this month. He just told me to go fuck myself. And so then I pretty much immediately cut all my ties with him. And that was the beginning of the realization that never again am I going to put my success in the hands of something that is outside myself. Because I realized each and every single time that I failed, I'd always been counting on something outside myself to make me successful, whether that was something outside myself in the form of the SoundCloud algorithm or a record executive, whether it was something outside myself in the form of, Jade Lamps and the Kickstarter algorithm, whether it was something outside myself in the form of the investment world, whether it's GameStop going up to the moon or some rich investor wanting to invest in my things. Each and every time that I've gone to failure, it was because I was counting on something outside myself. But thankfully, at that very moment, because I was wise enough to not put all my eggs in totally one basket, because I had actually gone down to zero when I was, right as I got fired from that NFT Web3 job where I was a copywriter. I was friends with someone, shout out Neil Maxwell, Shabugi Max, who told me something that would change my life. He's like, hey bro, you love tarot cards. You've been reading it for a while now. What if you made videos of doing tarot card readings? And at first I had all the reasons why it wouldn't work. And I tried to make content for several years. I'd tried and failed, and I'd be like, oh, it's not aligned. But then I went and I had my most viral video of like 4,000 views at that first time I uploaded. And what that did for me is it made me realize, like, wow, this is actually something that I can do, something that I enjoy doing. And I knew that ultimately that creating content is something that I wanted to create, but I thought that, I needed to reach this state of success first. When I was doing the Jade Lamps or when I was doing hip hop, I was like, I would release music videos. I would go and create different projects and then be like, when I'm ready, I'm going to release these and I'm going to see the fruits of my labor. I'm going to see that success. But I didn't realize that the best way to actually create that success is through building and showing in public, showing the journey. So that's what I started doing. I started posting every day on social media. And after about 5 months, I had my first viral video. I had 70,000 followers. And now instead of going and feeling like, I'm in this spot where I don't ever see any way to create the success that I really want in my life, even though the algorithm can seem like something that is really outside of ourselves in that way, what I actually realized is when you learn certain principles about attention, about how to go and make something that's really engaging, how to go and share valuable information with people in a way where they're going to realize, oh wow, I haven't heard this before. This is something that I want to tune into. Then it ceases to be outside of yourself, and content creation starts to become just as easy as talking to your friend on a long FaceTime or a long video call. And so that's the $100,000 piece of advice that I really learned, is to make sure that you're not counting on anything outside of yourself for your success. Whether it's a job, whether it's a specific opportunity, whether it's a investment. As soon as you start to believe that that is more powerful than you, you are already engineering your defeat. Because even if it is the right vehicle, even if it does take off, and in my case it didn't, but even if it does, one of these days, it is not going to go the way that you think. And you're going to be stuck thinking, oh my God, what happened? Why wasn't I good enough? How am I going to create the same level of success? I just got lucky. Without actually realizing what it takes to create and engineer your own luck. And that's what I really see posting content and stepping into the internet entrepreneurial age is about, is yes, there is some luck involved. You know, one of the wealthiest people that I know, who's younger than me, went and one of his first clients was already an 8-figure marketing executive. Now he runs a very, very successful online education space, probably makes him about $500,000 a month. But even though it's lucky to have that opportunity, it wouldn't have happened if he wasn't dedicated, if he wasn't doing outreach, if he wasn't on Twitter every day. For me, going and getting coaching clients, you know, having the perfect people come in. You know, sometimes there's very wealthy people that see my content and want to work with me, you know, and at times it can feel like luck, but in actuality, it feels like the results of something that I've been creating and nurturing, which is a relationship, not only with myself, but with you, with people that are on the screen, with my phone, with the Ascended Crystal Grid that the phone is talking to us through. And so that's really this message here, is to not go and count on luck because you think you're a good person, because the universe, while it might appreciate it, it doesn't really care. You know, you can be a good person, you can be a bad person, and luck is still going to treat you the same, because it's about how you think of yourself and then what actions you take from it. So don't rely on anything outside of yourself to think that that's what's going to make you lucky, that's what's going to get you this opportunity. It's all in you. It's all in the way that you treat yourself and treat the time that you have available to you to really be maximizing your luck. Are you letting yourself take the opportunities that you want, or are you just staying stuck? And so that's the question for you. Let me know in the comments if this has resonated at all, because I spent about $100,000, as I said, just to realize that not count on anything outside myself. And you shouldn't either, because one day it might bite you, and when you do reach your success, going and realizing that you can create it with your own efforts is going to be that much more valuable. So you'll comment valuable if you made it to the end of the video, and follow for more. Aloha.